kitchen table clay. This week I thought I would make a little clay mask for you and show you different ways of modelling the various parts of the face, so eyes, nose, mouth, and then you can convert these into things like green man masks, masks to hang on walls, anything you can think of. You can turn them into a full head so you end up with a bust, entirely up to you. I'll go through fairly quick, simple ways and some that are a little bit more realistic in looking. So I hope you have fun and enjoy. Okay, so the first one I'm going to take you through is a really quick and simple way to make a small to medium sized mask. All you need is your block of clay, and we're going to turn this into a face shape basically. So it doesn't have to be neat at this point or tidy, because we're basically going to use the pinch pot method to turn this into our face shape. So on this side we're then going to pinch, push in with your thumb and create a bowl shape. Now I'm not worried about this being too heavy, so I'm not going to worry about it being too thick. This also gives me some clay to play with on the other side when I'm making the face features. Towards you. Right, I'm now going to smooth this over a bit with a rubber kidney. Get rid of some of the pinch marks from forming it. Basic face shape. Now the first thing we do is mark in where the eyes are going to be, and remember the eyes are much further down the head than you think they are. If you do them too high, can you see how that would look out of proportion? We need them down here, about between I think it's about a third of the way down. So, and we're just going to press in with our thumbnails to make the eye sockets. Okay, now the next thing I'm going to do is start the nose, and I do this by pinching in from the eye sockets. You'll have to excuse the marks my nails make. It's sometimes a good idea to cut them. But you'll see later on I tend to use them as a tool. They're perfect for doing lips. So that's the beginning of the nose, and then we're going to just push down a bit on where the nose is going to continue to go and blend it all in, like such. So I don't usually do this upside down, so this is a slightly different experience for me. Now for the cheeks, we're going to push them back out, so we go underneath and just give them a push up. There we go. Don't worry about the cracking because we literally just smooth that over. Now the cheeks depend on how exaggerated you want this feature. When I do my faces, I tend to do quite a more sort of caricature type faces. So I tend to have quite exaggerated elements on mine. You don't have to do that. You can keep it much more subtle if you want. The key to building a face is to remember that the elements of the face aren't stuck on. So it's quite tricky. Like if you stick lips on, I find it much trickier to make them look like a part of the face than if I build it from the clay. Having said that, I do stick the bottom lips on because bottom lips stick out a bit more. And obviously other elements I will stick on, like the end of the nose. I need a bit of extra clay for the end of the nose there. Although I am going to start by creating the nostrils, and this is where my nails come in. I use the end of one nail and I push clay up, and then the other side the same thing, and then we push the clay down here like that. You can see it quite quickly gives you a nice nose kind of shape. Now I want this person to have a bit more point on the end of their nose, so I am just going to add a little bit extra to it, so it a slit and a bit of, I've just done a little ball and popped it on the end there, and then this is going to be blending to join it in. Make sure you do blend well, otherwise it will look like you've stuck the nose on, especially if it's a little round ball. Although that, I have to say, little bulbous noses work really well if you're doing things like Father Christmases. You can then glaze them red and they look quite cute. Make those nostrils stand out a little bit, I have an old paintbrush handle, which is a brilliant tool for doing faces, because I've got one end that I use that works quite well for eyes, and one end that works really well for nostrils. And all I'm going to do is, you have to think, nostrils don't go straight back, and you can lift a little bit and then they come towards the middle, and then gently underneath the side. So again, go in, make it a bit bigger, go towards the middle a little, and then we just come underneath this side a bit and tidy up. Now, you can do noses of all different shapes, so they can be pointy noses, round noses, whatever kind of shapes you want. It's worth having a bit of a play. It does give your faces very different characters, depending on what kind of features they have. So, I generally tend to make them a bit more pointy than this one is. There we go. need to make this quite smooth now, because my next feature I'm going to go to is the mouth. So like I said, I find it easier if I use the clay that's there to do the mouth rather than trying to stick things on, personally, because it's part of the face. And then I put the bottom lip on top. And I do use my nails for this. You can use a tool that's got a similar kind of end to nails, so I have done it with this knife, so something with that kind of end will work as well. Personally, I do find my nails are quite good. And we're going to start with the top lip and just put in, I usually do them smiling as well. See, I'm going to have to turn this a bit. So we're going to put in one side and smile. And then we're going to go this side, a bit bigger one, and smile that way. There we go. Like that. And then I use the nails to put in the top edge of the bottom lip. Like that. Now you can at this point add some on for the bottom lip, like I said. I sometimes do if I want particularly pouty mouth, or you literally just push the clay back underneath. Like that. Make sure your lips are rounded. And there you've got a fairly simple way of doing a natural looking mouth. Don't know how well you can see. It's kind of a sideways smirk. But there we go. When it hardens off a little bit, you can do a bit more tidying around the edges. This clay's a little bit sticky at the moment. Need it to dry off a little bit. Now I would like more of a chin, so I am going to push a bit more of a chin in here. So that there's a bit of a difference down here. And say, if you're going for a nice natural look, I would suggest you check out or Google the proportions of a face. There's lots of fabulous information, especially around drawing faces, out there that gives you all of the proportions that you need to consider if you're going for a natural looking face. Like I say, I tend to do caricatures, so I play with the proportions of a face when I do them. But you need to think about how everything lines up on a face, and like I said at the start, where the eyes are is generally a lot lower than people think they are. But there are a few other elements to the proportions of a face that it's worth considering when you're building masks or anything. Okay. So I'm going to work back on the eyes now, and I'm going to do this one of the simplest ways I've found, and it's like drawing eyes in clay, rather than trying to actually make eyes in clay. It is a very different look, and like I say, I tend to do my heads like caricatures, so it works very well for that style. You may want to do more realistic eyes, which I will show you in just a moment. So to start this, I'm smoothing the background down, because it will be very hard to do any tidying once I've got the eyes in. I've also pushed this side of the head in a bit because it was sticking out a bit, and actually heads tend to push in a little by your eyes and then go out again. So they tend to work, you've got round around the chin, out a bit around the cheeks, in a bit by the eyes, and then out again slightly for the top of the head. It's that kind of shape. Think a bit like the Joker. That's the kind of exaggerated shape of it. So let's do this smooth, and then I'll show you these eyes. Okay, I think that will do. Okay. Now I should say the dip that's in here, you don't want this top edge to be too extreme, otherwise you'll end up looking like they've got a really pronounced brow, unless of course that's what you want. So that's it. I find that pushing the thumbs in works quite well because it's gives a natural sort of edge to the eye socket. There we go. Okay. So I'm just going to use a tool with a round end on it, and I'm literally going to draw in the eyelid, just the top of the eye like that, and I'm going to do that on both sides. Now another one of these proportions for eyes, for faces, if you're making them realistic, obviously people have close set eyes and wide eyes, but generally you have an eye's width between the eyes in the middle there, over your nose. So if you're changing that, be aware that it will give your face wide set eyes or close set eyes. Okay, so that's the eyelid. Now comes in this tool, and I literally am going to just put in a circle in the middle and a smaller one in the middle of that. Now that's exceedingly simple, but I find it's quite effective, and you can change the expressions if you alter the angle of the eyelids. It will change the expressions. You can give crow's feet, so laughter lines at the sides if you want, to show that it's a very happy person. You can just mark in, you just do the inside edge of the bottom of the eye. I find that tends to work quite nicely. You can also put in bags under the eyes if you want, if that's the kind of thing you're going for. You can do that. Obviously you can put in wrinkles. If you're going for older faces, you can build in wrinkles. The one thing I haven't done yet that I usually do is these lines down it's actually from the top of the nostril here down to just outside the edge of the mouth, and I tend to soften that off. When I press in with a tool, it gives it a really straight hard edge, so I tend to go in with my finger afterwards and just soften it down a little. It's something I like for my faces. And it again, the angles of these lines and your smile will change the expression on your face quite considerably. Obviously, they don't have to smile. You can make them any expression you like. A good way of looking about how to make different expressions is actually to have a look at cartoon workshops about expressions, because that gives you a really simple way of seeing what angles of what lines will change an expression to something that you want. Now, my nose is dropped down where I keep pushing here, so I'm just going to give it a little raise, particularly, and this cheek as well. This cheek is dropped back, so I'm just going to give those a bit of a push. And now, there we go. And then I'll go back in again and tidy this little bit up here. So as you do each element, you might well find that other elements are altered by the changes that you make. So you'll need to go back in and tidy and reset sometimes, and that's fine. And you keep doing that until it's where you want it to be. The one thing I also normally do is pop in the little dip between the nose and the top lip, like that. So that is a very, very simple way of doing a mask. As you can see, I haven't used many tools. Rubber kidney, old paintbrush thing, basically anything with two different size round ends and a wooden shaping tool. The rest of it's been done with my nails. That's the face. I don't know if you can, how well you can get that. But that's the really quick, easy way of doing a face. I'm just going to show you a quick way of doing a hanging feature for it. So if you want to hang this on a wall, you can put a hanging piece across the back here. And all you need to do is to roll out a kind of rectangular piece of clay. Probably going for something that's maybe 3 millimeters thick, somewhere around that point. You don't want it too thin because it won't be strong enough to hold the weight of the piece, and you don't want it too thick because otherwise it will have trouble with the nail heads or pin heads getting behind and being able to hang the piece up. Right, so I've just cut it into a thinner strip. Next thing I'm going to do is just chop out 3 little triangles like that. And this is now going to go across here. So we're going to score on both sides and on here. Be careful because this is a weak point where we've cut the triangles in, so be careful when you're handling this strip. Slip on. And then we pop it in place. Try and keep the middle fairly central. Make sure it sticks. Remember not to press too hard, otherwise you're going to flatten the face of your mask. You can do this once it's dried a bit more, which can make it a bit easier. You see that's dipped in the middle a little bit there. That's not necessarily a bad thing, but you can just gently lift it back out again. When we turn it over, gravity will hold it in the right place. So if you want to thin it down because you're worried about weight, you can build it like this, leave it till it gets a bit harder, not quite leather hard, and then you can hollow away with a ribbon tool any extra clay that you haven't used. If you're not worried about weight, you can just leave it. This is not so thick that it won't fire. Do be careful that you don't go through to the other side of the clay anywhere. Do remember where you've pushed cheeks and eyes and things through, the clay will have thinned down naturally as you've stretched it. So do make allowances for that as you do this. And then once you've taken out all the clay that you want, you can smooth or you can leave it. This is the back. It's up to you how neat you want to be. So it might be worth doing this actually before we do the hanger. As you can see, I'm catching it. You can leave your masks like this, or you can, so that they can be hung on the wall. Oh, I have flattened the nose when I did the hanging piece. Or you can add to them and make them into something like a Green Man mask. Or you can turn them into any kind of characters, fairies or ogres or gargoyles or anything else that you would like by adding to them. I've done some where I've put crowns on top. I've got some where I've actually added arms and hands to them. So it's entirely up to you and your imagination how far you want to take these masks. And I would love to see anything that you make from following this. It would be fabulous to see what you've done. If you want to add to it, you can do like a Green Man, you can do a big flat slab, put this on top, mark around it and trim out just inside where you've marked, score, slip and stick this down. Obviously don't do the hanger before you do that. Do the hanger as one of the last elements, or when you're cutting around, actually you could just leave the hanger across out of that base plate of clay. That's probably the best ways, because that would make a really nice strong piece to hang from then. But you just cut the hole out at the back there, and then you can build either carve into, cut into, stick on, whatever you want for your foliage and leaf shapes. You can then, if you want to, put the leaves up onto the head and blend them down into the background. I love green men, there's so much you can do to them. You can pick a particular type of plant, you can do a whole mix, you can do it seasonal, entirely up to you. They're fabulous, I think. But you can, like I say, you can turn them into fairies. You can do a whole fairy tale, whole different set of characters. Fairy tale, great for a child's room or something like that. Yeah, let your imagination go. It is great fun. Okay, I thought I would also run through a slightly different way of doing eyes that's a little bit more realistic. It is basically building an eye the way it biologically is, in that we put in an eye socket. So you push your eye socket in, and then we're going to make an eyeball. Check your sizing, because you do need the right size for the hole that you've created. I actually need to be a little bit bigger, I think. That's a bit better. Okay, pop slip in. Personally, I find the slip is very important for me because we're creating a hole where we've got a whole bunch of air. If we seal that in, we are going to have a problem with it having to find a way to get out, and basically your eyelids are just going to pop off. But slip, I find, tends to help that, but do keep it in mind as you're building your eyes. Right, I need a slightly bigger iris. That is too small a circle. You can use anything with a round end for this. I've got my hole making tool, but it's got a good size end for this particular one. There we go. And again, I think I want a slightly bigger pupil. There we go. And the next thing we're going to do is to make an eyelid. You want these quite thin. So I've got this piece that I've rolled out earlier for doing the hanging of the previous mask. So I'm just going to roll this a little bit thinner. There we go. So what are we talking here? It's probably a millimetre, maybe a little bit more. And now we need to get this kind of shape of an eyelid. So I'm just gonna put a little curve in there. I'm gonna soften the edge, because although our eyelids are one of the features on our face that actually does have quite an edge to it, it is still organic and quite natural. So I'm just going to soften it down a bit. And then I'm going to do an eyelid kind of shape. Like that. Turn it over. Score on the back. Pop some slip. And then I'm going to place it over the eye. Now, I would like that to curve around a little more, so I'm going to just push that way. Like that. And then I'm just going to blend this top edge. These eyes work for human and animal. Obviously with animals they sometimes have different shaped eyes. They have different irises and pupil shapes. Sometimes they have different kinds of eyelids, so you need to alter according to the animal. But the basic idea of an eye socket with an eyeball in it works for most animals. Now we've got the bit along the bottom of the eye to do, which is pretty much the same thing but with a much shallower piece. So we don't need such a large eyelid piece like that. Can you see that we've got the eyelid up here? There. So this piece, I'm going to just make sure I've cut this. So yeah, it will work. And then I'm going to soften the edge again and smooth everything so that it doesn't look like a piece of clay that's just been cut. The other thing with doing faces and animals and things is you might find that you get lines appearing from the way you're handling the clay and from your skin. Certainly if you press into the palms, you sometimes get the marks from your skin and your palm appearing. Usually when you're making organic forms that's actually quite helpful because it makes it look more natural. So we're going to score this piece again. Careful you don't do what I just did and mess up your nice neat edge when you scored. Right. Pop slip on, and then we pop it in place. Cut off any excess. Can you see I've matched where they meet either side as well? I tend to find that makes a more natural looking join. I've just realised that I forgot to put in the little corner pieces. When you put your eyeball in, if you put a little bit of clay on each corner, they look like the little pink pieces of it that hold your eyeball in place that you can see with your eyes open. They look like those at the corners there. It also helps fill any space where the air can get trapped as well. But there you go. That's a very, again, quite a simple way of making a fairly realistic looking eye there. So again, I hope you like it. If you want some particular information or some other ways of doing things, please let me know and I will see what I can do. Another aspect I thought I would show you is how to do a mouth with teeth inside, which can be quite tricky because it's hard to get the mouth open and then back in place when the teeth are in there. So I'm going to show you what I used to do. I do push back quite hard, so I'm hoping I can do it on this little piece of clay. But anyway, right, so first thing I'm going to do a slightly bigger mouth this time, so I am going to use my knife tool. So I'm going to put the top lips in, so, and then we're going to go in a smile. And then the end, same again on the other side. Okay. Now I'm going to do the bottom lip, just the top edge of that bottom lip again. Pull this back, smooth it a bit. Right. Now this is the tricky bit, because we want to get in that join and move that bottom lip down a bit. So I am going to change where that bottom lip is going. I'm going to give myself a bit more room. So it's now down there. Okay, yeah, tidy edge. So I have this space in the middle here to push into. I have to be careful because I don't want to lose the top edge of this lip. So I'm going to push in. I am going slightly behind the top edge. I'm going in at that kind of angle. I'm not going straight down. I'm going behind because the teeth are going to go behind that lip. I'm going to put the top teeth in. And then I'm going to push down a bit and open a hole up. That is the mouth. Now this top lip we can lift a bit at this point so that we can get behind it. Like that. And then we can go in and just tidy in here. Don't forget clay is malleable. You can push it out the way and then push it back again. Just make sure you're paying attention and not trapping air anywhere that it shouldn't be trapped when you're doing this. Okay, there we go. That will do for now. Okay, now teeth. Again, we need a flat piece of clay. I'm just going to use what I rolled earlier. This one's about 1 millimeter thick. You could do it a bit thicker. This is teeth. And teeth are generally a little more than 1 millimeter thick. But I'm just going to use this because it kind of works for the mouth shape. So I'm going to go something like that. Now, I tend to go fairly comical when I'm doing my faces. I prefer it. So this is probably going to have quite big teeth. And we just smooth again to make sure it's not got any harsh cut edges for the moment. Now, this will be, you'll adjust this to fit. But I'm going to put this is the center with the front teeth. So I'm just going to cut that there. I want another one probably about there and there. So, and then the same this side, like that. Now, teeth don't have corners in, well, not quite as sharper corners as that. They have a bit of a gap between them quite often as well, and you can build in more of a gap if you want. You can literally, like I say, cut in gap teeth like that. It's entirely up to you. There we go. Smooth again. And we want the gums at the top of the teeth as well. So we're just going to put a mark over the top from one cut to the other. And smooth. Teeth are generally quite smooth, so hence the constant smoothing. And let's see, we're getting there. A bit more tidying, preferably. Trying to do this quite quickly for you. A bit more tidying would be good. There we go. So I've got my teeth. I think they're actually probably going to be a bit big for this, for what I've got going on here. So I'm going to trim a little bit. Now I would like the edge of this lip to be nice and smooth and ready, because I'm not going to be able to do very much to the bottom edge once I put the teeth in, other than push everything back into place. You will notice quite often on the top lip there's a little bit of a point in the middle there, and then you get your smile up here. And once I've got that, I'm going to lift it out the way a bit. Put some slip on here. I should say this is quite thin, so don't let it dry out too much. And then we're going to pop the teeth in. Teeth kind of go that shape, so you want to push these edges down a bit and in that way. There we go. Okay. Just gonna press that back edge in a bit to make sure they're in. Yeah. I let it dry a little too much. They're a bit delicate at the moment. So I don't want buck teeth, so I'm just going to push them back down a bit. And I'm going to push the lip back into place. Like that. Now, I'm going to tidy the bottom lip. Push down around the edge. Like so. And there we go. Got a mouth with teeth inside. Okay, I hope that was helpful. If there's any other aspects, again, that you would like me to cover, please let me know and I will see what I can do. Okay, so I hope you enjoyed that. I hope it was helpful to some of you. I have been asked a few times how to model eyes in particular, but faces more generally. That was a very basic, very simple way of doing it. If you're interested in something a bit more complex, I suggest you have a look at some of the portrait sculptors. videos and have a look at how they do it. They do work with clay in a very different way, but there are some great videos out there of that. And I will see you again soon with a new video. Okay, bye.